Welcome back to a Sunday edition of Straight Facts. I'm joined here live in the flesh with Jessica Black. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, I'd be better again if I had my own intro. You know, I'm here and I don't have an intro, but it's fine. But I'm good.
We'll be getting that sorted out. Obviously, we're a little bit late going live on Sunday because, of course, the England team, England ladies, just went and smashed the Germans, European champions. Congratulations and well done to all of them. Well done. Actually, a brilliant job out there today. They really did. Lots to talk about on the show this evening. Big De Jong news. We'll touch on the England side of things as well. Big De Jong news. Big Chelsea news confirmed by David Ornstein as well. Maybe a little bit of Adama Traore coming in. There's Dumfries that's being linked. There's updates on Fofana. We're talking a little bit of Sesko as well. But pre-season is now done, dusted, and kind of over the line. So a little bit to review ahead of sort of a week out from the Premier League starting. So viewers, make sure like buttons are being smashed. Make sure you subscribe to the Terrace. Very, very important to us that you're doing that. And if we hit 1,000 likes while we're live, I'm going to give away 20 free memberships for you. And next week is when all the new membership content starts. So if you're not a member, you're not going to be able to watch any of it. So get that done for us right about now. But yeah, listen, Man United. I have to start with Man United on this because we've been linked with Frenkie de Jong all summer, right?
Right.
Have you seen the latest story that's now out?
No, what is it?
So the latest story is very simple, and I'll explain it to the audience as well. So it's now being reported that Man United are willing to offer the player £450,000 a week. They initially agreed a deal at around 250 to 300, according to reports. They're now willing to increase that to about by nearly £200,000 to nearly £500,000 a week. The idea being that this will circumvent the money owed in deferred salary from Barcelona. So essentially, listen, if that's the only reason you're not moving, we'll pay it. We just want to get you in. We just want to make you a Man United player. And I suppose that comes with all sorts of questions. Is he worth that amount of money per week? You're then putting him on the salary would be around £23 million a year, which is colossal. But then it ends that deferred wages issue that's maybe slowing things down as it stands. This comes at the same time as multiple reports from Spain claiming that the player has been told he has to leave almost immediately, with the Liga just around the corner, and the fact they can't register players until he goes. I mean, the reason I'm bringing this story up, do you feel like it's, as someone here says, the source is the Daily Mail. Let me tell you this. When Sky and Sport from Spain said that De Jong doesn't like Manchester and doesn't like the manager and doesn't like the way the club is run, everybody took that as gospel. The same source says this, and suddenly we shouldn't trust it. But do you feel like the De Jong saga is kind of coming to a head and coming to a close, or do you still feel like this is still some way from being put to bed?
I mean, I think it's coming to a close. You know, I think even though we've really enjoyed making fun of Manchester United and laughing about all of this, I don't think I ever really felt like, unless another team, a Champions League level team, came in and was willing to spend the wages and the fee for Frenkie de Jong, that he would inevitably end up at Manchester United. And, you know, most of the more credible journalists have spoken a lot about these deferred wages and how that needed to be settled before he could move anywhere. And so with Barcelona kind of acting like the big boy in this transfer window, I mean, they've definitely been running it this time around. Yeah. It's no surprise to me that they probably are like, well, if you want him, go ahead and pay that.
Pay him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think his agent would like that. Frenkie would like that. And then the question just kind of becomes, you know, how does that look for Manchester United? Is he worth those amount of wages? But ultimately, in order to get the deal done, these deferred wages need to be taken care of. So I would imagine that Frenkie de Jong probably not done before the season starts, but maybe a week or so after that. You know, something around that.
Well, look, everyone knows my belief on this deal. I've always felt that it was plausible and doable. I've always felt that he could and maybe would leave Manchester United. I've always felt that's been on the cards. It was just whether or not another club was going to come in and hijack it. What was holding it up? And it's been so widely reported on It was the deferred wages. I think it's always been them.
Mm.
I don't think it's been about this. Yes, does he want to stay at Barca? Idealistically, if they say, listen, we'll keep your wages, we'll still register these new players, we want you to be part of this team, he'd stay. I don't think any Man United fan would delude themselves of that fact. But that isn't the reality of the situation. And it's kind of interesting with sport because, and a lot of the sort of the Barca press and the Spanish press have kind of pushed this narrative of doesn't want to leave, doesn't want to leave. They kind of print articles, and I've read a lot of their articles. They'll quote what Laporta says as being the gospel truth. And then every couple of days they release stories like this. And it's almost a case of, well, if he isn't leaving and he's part of the plans, why do you keep pushing this narrative that the club keep telling him that he's got to leave immediately? And it tells me there's been a lot of public negotiations going on. And from my point of view, I think this still can get done. Is he though? And this is the big question for the viewers as well. And I want your take on this. We're going to, get your super chats in, member chats we're going to look at as well. But is he, if Man United, if this story is true and Man United are going to offer him £450,000 a week, is he really good enough to warrant that? Are Man United wrong to pay Barcelona? I mean, essentially, you're paying Barcelona's debt.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, I do think it's kind of like, again, it goes back to the whole conversation around Barcelona being, the dominant club in this transfer window. Nothing happens unless they make a move first, or they decide they don't want a player, they want to move a player on, they want to buy a player. They have been really the movers and shakers in this transfer window. So I think Manchester United are probably going to be willing to take this one, on the chin, because they'll be getting the player that is central to what Ten Hag wants. I think optically it doesn't look great. Manchester United probably wouldn't want to be looked at as the team that's paying, the debt off for another, superpower out there. But, they'll be getting a really important player. I do think the wages are they're big. That's really big. And that also puts a lot of pressure on Frenkie de Jong to perform, for Ten Hag to get the most out of him. I don't think Barcelona ever got the best out of Frenkie de Jong, almost to the point where I do think some people think he's overrated. Ten Hag has to get the best out of him. Frenkie de Jong has to perform. But yeah, those are really high wages. Those are wages that if it doesn't work out, which I don't think it won't, you cannot move this player. It very much so. It hurts your wage bill. And I know Manchester United have had a big wage bill, inflated wage bill for a long time, but what's the next player down from that?
I think Ronaldo was on more. He was on $500,000 a week. There's talk of that going to 360. So Ronaldo would be the next. David De Gea is on around £300,000 a week. I'm skeptical over it. But firstly, let's just put it out there. It may not be true. So this is again, people pick and choose when they take the Spanish reports as serious. When the Spanish reporters said that he's willing to join Man United, he's open to it, he's been convinced to join.
Yeah, I didn't believe those ones.
But yeah, people didn't believe them ones. Now suddenly it's going to be true. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some medium. Listen, could he earn that much per week if he's winning games? We're winning trophies, bonuses, etc. Of course he could. Do I think United are going to pay that to him as a base salary? Personally, I don't. And I hope that we don't, because of just what you've said there. I think if you get a new player coming in, yes, you're selling this idea that the system is going to run through him. He is going to be the man that we build a system around that tries to get Man United back to the top. You have to compensate someone for that. You equally have to say, listen, we have no Champions League right now. We know that we're not your number one destination, but we're going to, we'll compensate you hugely for it. That sounds great, but we have done this in the past. We have ended up, and we're not offering him more money to say yes to us. We're offering him the money that Barca owe him to get the situation resolved. The issue that I have, the worry that I have, the problem that I have is if that goes down the same road as an Alexis Sanchez, if it goes down the same road as an Angel Di Maria, where he's not really here for Manchester United, he's not really here to he's not really here to sort of be part of this project. It's Barca want me out. I can make the money elsewhere. We'll see how it goes. That's my fear. And I'm not suggesting it's going to happen, because I don't think Ten Hag would be that stupid. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
Yeah.
But once bitten, twice shy. And we've done it so many times at Man United. That would be my fear on the player earning that much money.
Yeah, I mean, because I think about it from like the perspective of, Frenkie de Jong is not a player that I feel like Manchester United in the state that they're in right now should be anywhere near.
Mm.
I think we both maybe can agree with that he's on another level. And I think he also probably feels like he's on another level, but Ten Hag and, maybe the project has convinced him, you know? So I'm thinking to myself, as an Arsenal fan, what would be an equivalent to that? Maybe a Serge Gnabry.
Yeah.
If Bayern Munich owed him some wages and we wanted to bring him in, how would I feel about Arsenal paying that off, in order to get him? I wouldn't like it, but you bring in a player like that could completely change how your team functions, could take you to the next level that you have no business speaking to in Europa League and in the state that your club is in. You just kind of have to say, that's where we're at. And I think that's where Manchester United are.
Of course. And look, whatever happens, I've said this for weeks, and you know this, we have a briefing meetings before these shows. We all talk in the group chat.
Yeah.
I've said for weeks, whatever happens with De Jong leaving, Barca will always try and set De Jong up as being only interested in money. That will be the narrative when he leaves. It will be, hang on, we've said publicly all along that we didn't want to sell him. He's part of our future. But Man United offered him crazy money, and there was nothing that we could do other than to say yes to it,
right.
For him to leave. That's how it would be painted. So I'm not surprised. What you will probably see if this deal was to go through is you would most certainly see some of the British press that are Man United centric, the Simon Stones of this world, the Simon Peaches, who will probably say he's on a lot less. So I feel like they'll end up being this happy medium where there's an element of truth to it. And on top of that, the Man United get this all the time. They keep reporting on Lisandro Martinez as being this £55 million deal. It's 45 million base.
Well, it sounds better when it's inflated, right? Like you want to add the performance bonuses and all that kind of stuff.
It sounds better and sounds worse. It sounds from a Man United point of view, they always try and drive the price. That they add the bonuses, the add-ons, what he could earn. Rivals love it and whatever else, and it puts more pressure upon the player. In reality, the deals aren't as high. It's still to this day, they say that Anthony Martial costs £50 million. He costs 37 million because he's never won the Ballon d'Or for the add-on.
But see, the other thing that we're not talking about as well is that, like, De Jong, he walks straight into your team as probably the best player besides Ronaldo. Who else is as good as him in that team? Who else should command those types of wages? I do think you also have to think about the fact that, like, maybe the 400 or whatever thousand that they're talking about is not it. But if it's 300 grand a week, 350 grand per week above De Gea, who else even in this team would really command that? So, like, realistically, maybe it's not as bad because he's probably going to be your best player when he comes in.
Well, that is the other side to the argument. If he comes in and is brilliant, if he comes in and he is the guy that he is meant to be, and the style of football is transformed, he's fit. He's fit most of the time. He's dominating midfields. We're winning games. If that happens, no one will ever speak on his wages.
Right.
No Man United player in the team is going to say, well, I want more. When you're the talisman, when you're the heartbeat of the team, no one talks about it. In fairness, he's had a bad little period of late, Bruno Fernandes, especially the back end of last season. But have you ever seen his £67 million price tag get spoke about? No. Because he scored those goals. On the other hand, you got Pepe at Arsenal. We'll use that because of Uraguna. His price tag comes up all the time because of the performances that he has put in. Ben White, you guys were getting laughed at for Ben White in the summer, £50 million. He was so good last year. No one mentions his price tag anymore.
But they do, though. But yeah, I get your point.
Listen, certain trolls do. Anyone on Twitter that doesn't use their real name and they never have their real picture up, I don't kind of take their tweets that serious.
Yeah.
Like, generally, people have stopped goading the price tag of Ben White because he's proven that he's good enough. So if we do pay this money and he delivers, if we do pay this money and he's a star, it won't ever come up in conversation again. Barring if United was to do a madness and win a league title in a couple of years, it won't be next year. They'd say, you bought it. But on paper, everybody's buying. If Arsenal were really successful this year, that's £400 million you've spent. You could say you didn't build it. You bought it.
But what we got to do to get the title?
Well,
what do we have to do?
What do you have to? Listen, we're getting on to Arsenal. I've had a lot of I've been called a secret gooner now because of my video saying I'm scared of how well you guys are sort of doing. We've got some comments that have come through here from members and from some of our super chatters. Make sure the like button is being smashed, though, people. 1,000 likes, and we'll give away 23 memberships. From next week, the new membership content starts. We've never done it before on the Terrace. It's great stuff coming up, so make sure you're smashing like button, you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well, and turn on that bell notification button. Very, very important to do that as well. Any questions you've got for us? It may not necessarily be related to the young subject that we're talking about now, but make sure you get them in. We will be talking the women's team earlier. A few people saying, have I mentioned it at all? If you don't follow my Twitter account, where you at? I've been talking about it. Very happy Englishman sitting here, to be fair. Let's go to the first question here. Terry. Okay, yeah, I am going to give the women's team a we can speak about it later. I recently found your channel, great content. Arsenal is so slept on, and you see it. I'm just fair. Like every few months, you'll see I get called a secret fan of another club when I praise that club for doing well. I hold this to the high regard. I'm the most unbiased fan on football in the football YouTube world. I know I am most unbiased. But there we go. Thank you. I don't agree with United paying off Barca's debt, but I feel like De Jong will be essential to the way Ten Hag wants to play. I think that's very much what you just said, really. David here says 350k max, maybe bonus incentives or walk away. Get Saga and Neves for the same money. Can't let Barca take the P that so much. Hope to get Frenkie, though. He's class and would work well at United. And I think it's that balance, isn't it, around getting the player. You want to come off looking as good as possible, but still, the overarching one is we need the player, though. Like we need the player.
Care, though. Like that's the thing is, if in 6 months he's playing really well, nobody's ever going to talk about it. Even if Barcelona fans or whatever still try to banter you, you're not going to care. As a United fan, you're not going to care. And for the super chat talking about Sangare plus Neves, I just am thinking Frenkie de Jong is so slept on that like those players shouldn't even quench your thirst at this point. Like your mouth should be dry because Frenkie de Jong is on a completely different level, and that's the type of player that you pay deferred wages for. You get 350 grand a week.
No, I completely. It's all about, as you say, that it's all about performance. If he delivers, if he helps us win the matches, nobody will care. Now, of course, for rivals, this is again, it's music to their ears. For the mushrooms, it's music to their ears. But you only got him because you paid. He's there. He's a mercenary. He doesn't really want to be there, etc., etc. But again, all of that goes away if he performs, because you only really get labeled a mercenary when you underperform. So there's lots to be said about it. Comment here from Babe says, Jess, the most beautiful woman on the terrace.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
There we go. Dom Robbie is more unbiased. You get triggered too easily. Mate, it was a flippant comment. I wasn't really being serious. But thank you very much, Trent. I do get triggered at things, but I'm just being me. I'm unashamedly me. Barca pulling off these stories. Chelsea are going to bid. United are going to pay the difference. Blah, blah, blah. Barca are the ones under pressure. I do think that's a fair element as well, isn't it? Because Barca need him gone almost as much as Man United need to buy him.
Yeah. I mean, they're lucky that there's a willing buyer there. But there is an element of, Barcelona are definitely out there letting everybody know that they're back, they're going to spend all this money, but we know it's very fragile. It's very much, on the line because they have to sell. So I do think Manchester United do have something to play with there in terms of some leverage in this.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's going to be both clubs, I think, giving and taking, really.
Yeah, there is a bit of both, and there is a desperation from both. I mean, Chelsea themselves. You throw Chelsea's name into there. We're going to talk a bit of Chelsea coming up soon. That there is an element of desperation. Again, fans don't necessarily like the word desperation, but there is a bit. And Nabil here says, wait, in your previous video, you said you would be mad if Man United overpay. You need to get rid of this Ed culture. Do you want me to find a video? No, but that isn't what I've said. I've already stated that I'm not. I've literally stated in the bill, how much have you watched? I said, I'm very nervous if this story is true about us paying that amount of money because we've seen it damage us in the past. My counter argument, because the idea of being a host of any kind of show is to give your opinion, but then you also give views from the other side, is if he comes in and delivers, though, if he comes in and does a great job, no one would moan. Man United have spent about the same amount of money as Man City in the past 9 years. But because Man City have won the league, that level of money, Man United's amount of money being spent hasn't been the problem. It's the hindsight element that we overpay for players and pay them too much salary based on the level of achievement we get out of them. So I'm scared to pay this much because I'm scared of it going wrong. I don't want us to overpay it in case it goes wrong. But if we spend this amount of money and we win things, well, you're not overpaying, are you? It's getting that balance right, and winning is more key. However, I stand by what I've originally said. Us paying him this amount of money makes me nervous. There is an asterisk next to it for me, and I need to wait and see how he performs, my friend. So that isn't me flip-flopping or changing my opinion. It's being able to present a different side of the argument and discussing it. Like I know you know how to do, Nabil, because you've got a brain as well. People with brains can do that. Youri here says, "Oh, Jess in the house." Yes, Jess is here in the UK, as you saw for the Football Terrace meetup over the weekend, and we've got some live show next week as well. So, excuse me, very much looking forward to it. Confirmed English water is better than the USA, without a doubt. From mineral water through to tap water, better here in the UK. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, that's about it. That's that much better.
Better
but
food.
The water is good. No,
better food here. Everything better food.
No.
I think we do. Keenan here. Keenan says, Gondo and Thiago Gundogan and Thiago on 140 and 200k respectively. 450k on one player could be used to bring in 3 solid signings, which United will need to rebuild. Absolute fair point. Not going to push that back and say you're wrong. It's true. However, let's be really honest here. We see Man United's costings overinflated and wrongfully reported on a very regular basis. Once upon a time, they told the world that if you actually go back to the original reports when we signed Alexis Sanchez, go back to the day we signed him and look at what the journalists said. They were all talking 350 a week. By the time he was being sold, they were talking 600 grand a week. It was like every month they added like 20 grand onto his weekly salary for like 18 months. Yeah. I don't think we're going to pay 450 grand a week as a base salary. You got to remember as well, Liverpool salaries base are all low. Liverpool's bonuses when they win and achieve are gargantuan in comparison. So that might be the way this is done. But I guarantee you, if Man United pay him 200 grand a week, that rises to 400 grand a week if he wins the Premier League for that season, it will be reported as his base salary by the media. That's my take, because they always do that to us. They love it because, Man United, biggest club in the world, generate them clicks. Comment here says, Bernardo Silva and Aspie next. Let's go. Well, this is why they need to get rid of De Jong, because there is like really strong reports from Gerard Romero. Things are heating up, he said. Yeah. There is great noise around Bernardo Silva and Aspie.
Things are happening.
That's what he says. Things are happening and the deal is hot. Yeah, things are happening and hot. The deal is hot. I like that. It's almost as good as my green tick. I got aired, people.
So your thing is like done deal or something, right?
Yeah,
like everybody has a thing. His thing is things are happening, and there's obviously like the here we goes and all that kind of stuff. I need a thing. I need a hook.
Yeah, you do.
I don't have one.
No, you need like a saying at the end.
Yeah.
What you're talking about. Nabil here back again says, I can confirm that the USA food is better. I'm confused. 1, Erik ten Hag wants him and we should back him, but wages are just insane. So it's Alexis Sanchez 2.0 and means nothing is changed. But that isn't necessarily true. You've got to wait for the full story to come out, my friend. And as I said, I'm reporting what the news is saying. Remember, this same outlet a week ago said that he hates Manchester and doesn't like how the club is run. So this is the same outlet that already told us he's happy to join Man United because he's got a great friendship with Erik ten Hag and he's excited about the prospects. So they've reported multiple things. And for me, I'd say like 30-40% of it is true. But if that's your take, my friend, I appreciate it. Glazers in here. I can tell you this. The board will not sign Frenkie de Jong on that salary. Good point, my friend. Cab driver says, as for Fofana, This is a panic buy. I'm taking him for both his current and future quality. He's better than Kunde. We'll come on to that in a little bit because I want to speak about the confirmation around that deal that we've seen today. This super chat here says, people sleeping on De Jong because he hasn't been that great at Barca, because he hasn't been played in his best preferred position. De Jong for the Netherlands is world class. I agree with you. Does Gary Neville need to be high to say Arsenal are making progress? Look, he's just entitled to his opinion. The crazy thing about Gary Neville is, I want to say this as well, the crazy thing about Gary Neville is that when he said last year, I don't know what direction Arsenal were going in with these signings, 95% of Arsenal fans on social media agreed with him. Most Arsenal fans, I saw you get into a row with Gooners and you posted back their tweets to them from a year ago. They were like average window, poor window, failed window. I'm talking top Gooners. You know, the TPF, the toxic positivity fans. None of them were happy with your window last year.
Not being happy and not understanding a strategy that was so obvious is so different.
Yes, okay, but what Gary Neville has said when I don't understand the strategy, what he's saying is I don't understand how what they're doing is going to work and make them better. That's what Arsenal fans were saying last summer in different ways. It was almost, saying it's a bad window, then you don't agree with the strategy.
You don't think that he kind of like just overdid it though? A little bit?
No,
because Arsenal, to say that he couldn't understand it at all, it made no sense.
I don't think he was. He was saying what the Gooners were saying. It was only after that game in the North London derby when I saw the tweets, I saw the articles. Oh my God, I overreacted. I'm now back on the Arteta bus. Neville got it wrong, but it just is what it is. He's allowed to not agree. And if he's wrong, he can listen. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd want people writing me off so that we can laugh at them later. Like, you shouldn't want everyone to just praise you and say you're brilliant. You always want a little bit of stick. You always want to be able to have somebody, you have a little bit of a pop at, as it were. I think it's pretty important. Terry, my guy, a green tick. The green tick bandit. Yeah, I love it. I like doing it because it triggers certain people. It triggers. There are a couple of YouTube content creators, big guys on big platforms that despise it. And I'm like, bruv, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Martinez is so good. Was so good today. All Erik ten Hag signings are very good. I'm excited for Frenkie de Jong and Anthony, and Man United should get them. Thoughts on Ronaldo today? I only watched part of the United game because the England's women team were playing, and I wanted to watch that game as well. Thought he looked all right. It's his first game of pre-season. He was never going to be completely sharp at 37 years old without playing games. If Man United are to get the top, we need quality, and Frenkie de Jong is top class. Passion and pace merchants won't take United to where we aspire to be. Terry, I know you are British, but sorry, English food tastes like tears. US food is great, but I'm only joking, by the way. And most of the food in England that's brilliant isn't even British food anyway. It's Italian, Chinese, Indian food, obviously American food. I always think Brits always do this sometimes. They say things like they'll try something. Oh, I don't like that. I like English food. Oh, what English food do you like? They go, oh, spaghetti bolognese, burgers, pizzas. I'm like, that's not English. Yeah, there we go. Terry, he's from the class of 92. He should have known. Yeah, maybe. But as I'm saying, last summer, I mean that, and it's not even a dig. I think 95% of Gooners I spoke to online were also unhappy, confused, and frustrated. Now, one of the other stories I want to speak about today, outside, still with Manchester United, is the situation with Benjamin Sesko, because Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Man United are still in contact with the agent. They want to understand the situation. There's talk of 35. I've seen anything from 35 million euros to 55 million euros for Man United to be able to take him in. Do you think Man United fans are getting a little bit too excited with this kid?
I mean, a little bit, but I look at this whole situation like, okay, what's the best for Salzburg right now? They have a young player that's kind of nobody really knew about until like 5 minutes ago. Obviously, being linked to Manchester United puts you, in the limelight. Like, people are now starting to look you up, look at compilations, try to figure out who you are. But I'm sure that there's some other teams that are looking at him, maybe not for this summer, but next. And so I can't see them selling him for 35 million. I see them either selling him for a large sum this summer to Manchester United because you guys have the money.
Mm-hmm.
And, they would be selling an asset early without getting that nice bidding war after maybe another season or so. So can't see it for 35. I do think, Manchester United are probably doing a lot to talk to the agent, see what the situation is like. But if I'm Salzburg, I'm not even going to entertain anything lower than 55. And I think when you get into those numbers, then you're looking at it like, okay, is that actually what we need to be spending our money on? Maybe Manchester United feel, yes, that is. I do think that Manchester United are probably looking for somebody to fill that
Yeah.
young striker role, because obviously Greenwood is not playing. So it's one of those where they probably do want to, thank you, want to fill that role, but do you want to spend 55 million on it? 35, yeah, that sounds cool. 55, no. But again, doing a lot of talking to the agents. We'll see what happens, but young player, don't really know much about him. I know you think he's like the best player that ever played now all of a sudden because you looked at some comps, why scout or whatever, but yeah, I wouldn't get that excited about it, but that's my take.
Yeah, look, I think, look, I'm not overly. He looks very talented, but we're
You're
certainly.
gassed.
No,
Keep
he,
it real.
he looks very talented, but I've said for a long time I love players like this that are a little bit unknown. But I also get RB Salzburg's point of view, and I've said this before about players Liverpool try and sign. If I'm the owner or the sporting director of any club in Europe, any club in the world, and Liverpool knock on the door and say, we want to buy one of your players, I'm sticking 20, 30 million pounds on the asking price instantly. Well, if Liverpool want him, there must be a reason. If Ten Hag wants him, because of how well respected Ten Hag is, because we know Ten Hag's got the power right now on who Man United are buying, I think you have to turn around and say, well, let's push the price up. So maybe 35 million pound that the Slovenian press are reporting was what RB Salzburg would sell to another European club, a Portuguese club, maybe an Italian club, maybe even a German club. Yeah. But a Premier League club with the money we have in this country comes knocking, and you go, right, I am upping that price. I want more money. I think this is a real intriguing one. Would I like to see a young striker like this come in sooner? Yes. We saw yesterday in the Community Shield the hype, Darwin Núñez, Erling Haaland. I'd love Man United to throw themselves a young one. You guys have got a slightly older striker in Gabriel Jesus, but
no, we have Nketiah. He's going to be in and amongst.
You're putting Nketiah in the same category as Darwin Núñez and Haaland.
I mean, with those touches that those boys have, I mean, everybody's in it. Everybody's in it. No, but I get what you're saying. You want to have somebody else you can throw in there.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice to have one of the, a number 9 comes to Man United. Go, right, well, let's see. Especially as our guy might come in 20, 30, 40, 50 million pounds cheaper than some of those guys, lesser money. You sign someone like a Sesko for, say we do get him for, say, 35 million pounds, and he comes in, and inside a couple of years, he's outscoring the Darwins and the Haalands. They're the kind of wins as fans that feel nice. When you buy someone that's cheaper, lesser known, but they end up being better. Like Liverpool fans I know we knew who Mo Salah was, but picking Mo Salah's and Mane's up for 28 million pounds, and then what they delivered compared to, it always feels better for one reason or another than buying a £100 million player. Even if that £100 million player kills it, it's still nice to pick one up cheaper. There's the extra bit of gloating and sort of the fanfare that comes around it. So we'll see.
United need a little bit of this though. Like, I know that you've had conversations with people about not wanting to be a doorman, and I don't necessarily feel like that's not the direction that I think Manchester United will go into. But you do need to pick up these gems every once in a while. They can save you so much. And also, if a Bayern Munich comes and wants him in a couple of years or whatever, you could sell him for who knows how much.
Yeah, you've always got that option, to be able to do it. And the great thing about players from sort of Eastern Europe, the Nordic players, Scandinavian players, is they don't always necessarily have that burning childhood desire to go to Real Madrid or Barca. You seem to get that a lot more, Spanish players, Portuguese players, South American players, because of the obvious connections, but sort of culturally as well. Sometimes they're slightly safer bet. Sometimes, listen, we'll see what happens. But I'm not gassing him up too much. There is a big Sesko hype at the moment, but I'm just excited to be linked with him.
Started by you, sir.
Me?
Started by you, sir.
No, come on now. I'm not that one. Any questions you've got, any thoughts and feelings you've got around this, people, make sure you get your comments in to us right about now. We'll always prioritize our super chats. We'll always prioritize our member chats as best we can as well. 1,000 likes, and we're going to gift away 23 memberships live on the show. So we need around 400 more likes for us to hit that mark, people. Make sure you are getting that done. Let's go to some more of the comments that have come through here. Thoughts on Donny? Is he good enough? Look.
What's he look like? Be honest.
I heard today he looked all right. I saw tweets saying he looked all right. I thought it was okay, the bits I saw of the game. Yesterday, when he came on, meh, like nothing. He's still, for me, sorry to blow into the mic, people, but featherweight.
Ooh, a little light.
Little featherweight, like no thickness, no back off. Do you know what I mean? No arms, no chest. Like, I don't even know if he can pick his woman up.
I mean, dare you say that maybe Ollie was right about him?
Listen, there are some...
If Ten Hag can't get him kicking, he's not gonna kick. Like, you know,
there are some Man United fans, and there are some sort of football hipsters and eye test merchants that are, again, because those people, they believe, like, and you know this as well as I do, I'm not going to mention any of their names. You got the tacticos as well, all these guys. They believe that their football knowledge is superior, and they believe because they've got superior football knowledge, they should get more views on YouTube, should have more followers on Twitter. They don't realize that it's the fact they have a lack of personality is more the reason why they have a fraction of the followers of other people. But they are cacking it because their whole world is built around being right.
Yeah.
And if Donny looks bad under Ten Hag, it's because he can't hack it in the Premier League. And we went through this whole thing. People think you're talking about, oh, you're saying like English people are stronger than Dutch people. It's nothing to do with being English or Dutch. It's to do with you, your character, your personality, your physicality, and how it operates in the Premier League. We've seen Philippe Coutinho is a great example of a player who is just, for one reason or another, is naturally gifted to the Premier League, and he does it here better than anywhere else. He looks better in the Prem than the Bundesliga. He was in the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich, and he looks better, and he looks a better football player at Aston Villa in the Premier League. It's nothing to do with his nationality. It's to do with his, or any immutable fact. It's to do with him as a person, you know? It's just as simple as that for me. So, yeah, I do think, and I'm sorry to say this, I think we could be seeing the end of Donny. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Donny kills it. But what I've seen so far this preseason, if his name wasn't Donny van der Beek and his name was James Smith and he was from the academy, Man United hipsters and eye test merchants would want him sold tomorrow to Basingstoke FC. It's only because he's Donny and he has a reputation and he's from Ajax and, you know, he's been techie in the past. That's the only reason people are like willing to give him a chance to. And I do get that because I'm fairly similar, but yeah, he looks bang average.
You guys ruined him.
Terry, give the women's team a shout out. Listen, I was tweeting about it earlier, and I want to say, as an Englishman, very, very proud of England tonight. And I don't even want to, I think we've got to get to a point soon with the women's game where we just call them England. The England, yes, sometimes you do England the plan. Like, what, men or women's team? Women's, you can say it then. But it isn't well done England women. It's well done England. They repped us brilliantly. They were so great. They're technically great tonight. Toon's goal, out of this world. I love the fact that we won it with a scrappy goal. That was kind of very satisfying for me for some reason or another. But yeah, England were amazing. Proud Englishmen tonight. And I will say this one thing. Some may look at this as bitter, some may not. You ain't celebrating. I'm not accepting your celebrations or congratulations if you're someone that pretends to be an England fan. You know, when it's fashionable to be an England fan, you suddenly go, oh, I'm English and I love it. And when it isn't, you go, oh, brother, I'm from somewhere else. No, if you're a properly, listen, like, I'll give you an example. Anita, you know, one of the, always there supporting England, always getting behind the Lions and the Lionesses. You have the right to celebrate. But you know, the people that are like, no, bruv, I'm only a Man United fan. I don't like England. And then tonight, you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm English. No, you don't support it. And I'm not talking political stuff here. I'm talking purely supporting the England football team. You can't jump on the bandwagon when England's football teams do well. You've got to be there the whole time. It's like, imagine saying like, I'm only an Arsenal fan when we win. That's basically what I'm talking. You can't do that. You shouldn't do it with your national teams either. You've got to get behind them even when they're bad. It's part and parcel of it for me. A super chat here says United in pole position to sign Sesko, according to whoever that is. I don't know who that person is, but yeah, I've read we're in pole position, and I would expect us to be, because I don't think Newcastle have looked. If we can't sign a player over Newcastle, we're in bits. we're in absolute kind of bits if this happened. And so Timo Werner, I am talking facts here. And I'm not talking about anyone's nationality. I don't care what your passport says. I'm purely talking about people that don't want to support England sometimes and then want to support them. We saw it in the Euros with the men's team last year. Like, there were people at the start, I don't care. 3 or 4 games in, they're singing Sweet Caroline. They lose the final and it's like, I never liked England. It's like, bruv, it just annoys me. Like, you're either a fan of a nation, sports teams, or you're not. Don't pick and choose, man. Get behind them. But yeah, well done to them tonight. They did well, didn't they?
Yeah, they were excellent. I mean,
best team in the world.
Yeah, but I was happy to see Leah obviously lift the trophy. Somebody said that. Gunnar, love her. Love the entire team. Definitely deserved it. Best team in the tournament. Yeah, and I'm glad to see a lot of other people paying attention because these girls are good.
Yeah, they're very, very good. They absolutely deserve it. Cedric here says, Terry, I'm a champion of women in sport. I cannot wait to see women's football skyrocket in this country. And it'd be great to see. And it's, for me, I'll be honest with you, I'm someone that doesn't really do politics. And I come from a martial arts background, and women in martial arts, certainly in the circles that I come from, women and men have always been fairly equal. Like, when we were part of Team GB, there were stars within our team that were men, there were stars that were women, and they got, we had a lady called Chloe Bruce that was part of Team GB. She's probably the most famous martial artist, like outside of MMA stuff, to come out of the UK in recent years. Men and women were treated so fairly, and it was because we all competed at the same time and at the same tournaments. A little bit easier. It's like with tennis. Yes, there are massive male stars, but because the men and women play at the same tournaments at the same time, it's kind of all together, if that makes sense. The sport that does it the best, though, is the UFC. And the UFC is so successful because, again, they're immersed among the same things, women headline events, but there isn't a push to make people want to watch it. And I think what you need to do is pump more money into it. You need to be able to let the women have the money that they need to be able to train full time. You need more sponsors, obviously, to generate that money. You need to advertise it more so it's put in front of people, but then you allow people to fall in love with it. What I don't think you should do is, you've got to watch it if you're a bad person, because all you're then going to do is make people turn away. If you look at the UFC and their model, it's organically grown to this point. And I actually think on the large, that's why women's football in the UK is growing so much, because no one's putting pressure on you to watch. Does that make sense? And they're going about it the right way. This should not be a political movement. This should be about growing a sport. And when you do it organically and you do it naturally, it's better for everybody involved, both financially, the feeling around it. And yeah, look, the ladies tonight did a phenomenal job. Very, very proud of the say as an Englishman, and more of the same to come. Simple and as straightforward as that.
Yeah.
Terry capping hard. Oh, bruv, my guy. Are you feeling all right, my friend? I hope you're okay. I hope you're having a good day. You're not going to burst my bubble. That when people say you're capping hard, that's code for I don't have the brains to challenge. So I'm just going to say you're capping. Do you know what I'm saying? My guy. You good? Bless you.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like, even when we talk, like, we've actually spoken about women's football a lot. And Terry said the exact same things that he's saying now. So he's not just saying things for effect. Like, he actually believes this stuff. And I think, if you did it wouldn't be a Terry statement if it didn't have balance and some, like, I don't feel like you were just out here saying, like, we should do all these things, blah, blah, blah. You said, like, very reasonable things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just look at it from women in sport. I look at it from sports that have done it very successfully, and what more needs to kind of happen. I don't believe in equality of outcome in the sense of, if you're the best female footballer in the world and you're generating the income off the back of that based on what you're generating for clubs and your teams, and you should earn off that. If does it mean you should earn as much as Cristiano Ronaldo that generates and brings in more? No, like, I think there needs to be a happy medium to this. Like, it's about people earning what they're worth, people earning what they deserve. And what I would say about the women in sport, especially football in the UK, is they haven't been given what they deserve. And that's what it's all about. I spoke to a lot of female football players. My PT instructor plays at a very good level. I was very fortunate once upon a time I met Alex Scott a few times at some events. And when you kind of ask them what they want, how they think things, I think I asked Alex Scott once, do you feel like a female coach needs to be given an opportunity in the Prem? And her response was, but only if she's good enough. And that for me is the attitude. That's why I got a lot of time and respect for Alex Scott. It wasn't, yeah, we have to just give women a chance. Well, no, you have to give a woman a chance when they're good enough.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do think there probably are coaches out there that are better than some of the coaches that get opportunities. And I think that's one of the next barriers, because I think the integration is key, crossing over. But there we go. Listen, people, make sure you're smashing those like and those share buttons for us, people. Really important that you get that done for us. Reading the comment, I couldn't read it right. A super chat that's come through here that says, got to push the sponsors now when women are at the forefront of people's minds. Sponsors need to grow the sport. Hopefully this will start. Remember though, sponsors will only put money in when people are watching it. So the first thing we need to do is people to watch it. If you're not watching it, sponsors, like, no disrespect to any sponsor, a sponsor's not going to pump 10 million pounds in if they can't make that back.
Yeah. I mean, I did read an article like just the other day that brands are starting to really pay attention and they want to get involved with women's football because people are watching and like they're watching from their homes. Like we were talking about, it's not really just about selling out stadiums, it's making sure that they're being seen in their televised. And so, yeah, there's going to be a big push for that. Obviously, the game is growing, but it has a long ways to go. But again, it's all about if you're good enough, if it's actually good and not just pushing it just for the sake of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And people are watching. But that's what it always comes. What I don't think the general public should do is say, it's all on everybody else to make it bigger. Or are you watching it? Are you like, if you're someone that's advocating and pushing it, you should be at the game. Like, I guarantee there are some of these people that push for women should be paid the same as men. Are you going to the women's games? No. Well, then shut your mouth. Like, you got no leg to stand on in the argument with it. Super chat here. It says, oh yes, sorry, already had that one there. Now, one of the other talking points I wanted to kind of go through today, which I think is key, is David Ornstein has confirmed the deals. He has stated that the deals are in motion for Wesley Fofana to go to Chelsea and Denzel Dumfries, both linked with moves to Chelsea Football Club. When David Ornstein starts talking about transfers, they invariably happen. They're definitely real. They're definitely on. They're definitely there or thereabouts. How good a deal do you reckon they'd be for Chelsea?
I think Fofana would be a good deal for them. I do think Fofana is maybe in a position where he could leave Leicester, and do a lot better. I think just even in his first season, people really saw like what his quality looked like, so I do think that would be a good deal. Chelsea are in need of some defenders, so I think that's a deal that, again, I do think it could be quite expensive. But ultimately Chelsea, they need to get something over the line, and Wesley Fofana would make them it would make them better. Denzel Dumfries is an interesting one because I do think that he would suit them very well because he's more of a wingback. You watched him in the Dutch league and you watched him at Inter. Anybody that plays with wingbacks is going to be totally into this player because he's power and pace. He scores goals. In that wingback position, he likes to get forward. But the thing about Dumfries is he's not an amazing defender. And then I still have questions around what that means for Reece James. And I know that Reece James can be a good right-sided center back, but as a wing back, Reece James is much superior to Denzel Dumfries. So for me, it's like, okay, I get it. Maybe Denzel Dumfries would be the backup to Reece James and all of that kind of works out. But hopefully, it's not Denzel Dumfries or Fofana, which I don't think it is. But yeah, it would be good deals. I just think Chelsea need to get things over the line. I'm not as I wouldn't be as excited about Dumfries as I would about Fofana, but they need to get something over the line, I think,
They do. Listen, I think Fofana's a better signing than Jules Koundé. I think he's a better footballer, a better defender.
Yeah.
There are differences between footballers and defenders.
Yeah.
In terms of how you phrase it. The money's the hard bit. You're talking today, I think there's no guarantee they will accept. But as Ben Jacobs said, and Ben Jacobs is very connected at Leicester, you are looking about 80 million. Then it becomes, remember we did the show a little while back where we spoke about, you looked at the biggest money signings in the history of football. I think we went through the top 30 signings. And out of the 30, I think we only classed like 6 of them as actual full-on successes based on the money that's spent.
So,
That's the pressure that comes with it.
you know, what would be funny is that, like, if it's going to cost about 80 million, that it would be 2 defenders coming from Leicester going to other clubs for 80 million.
Yeah.
Maguire did the same thing, but I don't think Fofana would be like a Maguire, right? We believe in Fofana more than we do Maguire.
Yeah, but let's be blunt, right? When he went for 80 million, Harry Kane, people did say it was overpriced.
Yeah.
However, at the time, no one really challenged his ability that much. People still said, no, what would you pay for him? They still said 50, 60 million. Like, people weren't saying he's absolute dead. And even the people now that go at him say, I've never rated him. My question is, come and show me those tweets that said he was this bad or as bad as he's been. Fofana, is he worth 80 million pounds? No. However, valuation, market value versus what somebody has to end up paying are two very, very different things. And the problem Chelsea have got is because they've missed out on De Ligt, because Chelsea have missed out on Jules Koundé, because Chelsea, it looks like they might miss out on Kimpembe, the market for them is shrinking. What drives, and again, this is the element of football finance that needs to be focused on. One of the biggest drivers of price in any industry in the world is when a product becomes scarcity, they call it. When a commodity, when a player, when a product, when a service is scarce and hard to get hold of, it becomes so expensive. And Chelsea are running out of time. They're running out of options. And if Fofana's that guy, Leicester can really cash in. I think what might help Leicester, now Ben Jacobs did say today, and I heard from another source today as well, that the player isn't going to force the issue. The player isn't going to look to move. We've seen that change. We've seen that change in the past, and I think that could help them drive the price down. But I think if they get Fofana, it is still a sensational signing. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And the fact that he came back last year and was great after the type of leg break he had. I mean, his leg break was horrific.
Yeah, it was. Oof.
It wasn't sort of a, listen, no break's good. When you remember, like Andre Gomez for Everton. You, of course, had Harvey Elliott last year. That was more like a dislocated ankle, bit of a break in there. This was man's shin, like, snapped in half. The fact that he's back playing and he doesn't really look any different is so good.
And the good thing for Fofana, which, like, I always look at things like this, is he going to be going somewhere where the way that they play is foreign to him? And it wouldn't be. Leicester have been playing with the back three for a while. He can slot straight in there, and it'll be very similar to what he's doing. And so Dumfries and Fofana really do make a lot of sense. Again, less excited about Dumfries. It'll be interesting to hear what Manchester United fans feel about that, because Erik ten Hag was wanting Denzel Dumfries as well. You know, so if he does go to Chelsea, what does that have? What kind of effect does that have on Manchester United? But, you know, would be good signings. I think at this point, Chelsea just need to get something over the line. You know. Yeah.
It's. They need to. And Dumfries is an interesting one as well, because he's one of those players I'm not completely and utterly sold on. I don't know how good he offensively. Yeah, he's that guy. I don't know enough about him. Man United have been linked with him as well. So obviously, if United are linked with him, I'm going to say he's amazing. But no, I don't do that. You know, I don't do that. I'm umming and ahhing about him. Dumfries is an interesting one. I feel like Dumfries happens. I know that Ornstein said they're working on both, and I've got to read the article again. But I get a feeling that Dumfries comes in if a centre-back doesn't. But I think if Dumfries comes in, it's because they're going to move Reece James for at least a season into a centre-back role.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're going to end up doing, because you don't need them. They're also looking at Adama Traore, that's obviously in the out there today. I think Adama Traore is like a level down from Dumfries. But a cheap, I mean, you could probably pick him up for about £5-6 million now.
Well, like, wasn't Chelsea's issue last season that they didn't really have the necessary backups for Reece James and Chilwell in those wingback positions? If they get rid of Alonso, they don't have Azpilicueta. You still kind of have those same issues. And so regardless if they get a center back or not, they do need to replenish those wingback positions, because if those two get injured, I know Alonso and Azpilicueta have some sort of quality, but you can tell that there was a huge drop off. So I think regardless, they have to get that done, or else they're gonna be in the same situation.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are. They absolutely are going to be in in that they need to get more deals over the line. I mean, there is talk, and I've got to read the stories about them getting involved again in the Frenkie de Jong situation, pushing for that. And, they have to. And I think that Chelsea's issue this year is they've gone for some serious players, and they've gone up against Bayern Munich. They've gone up against Barcelona. And one thing that's really interesting, Dean Jones spoke about this a lot last summer when it comes to Haaland. Chelsea fans won't like hearing this, but for a lot of people, especially a lot of the foreign players, a lot of them don't yet see Chelsea as a legacy club. They look at them as, and that's not Chelsea's fault. I think they're on the way to being a legacy club. I think it's about how long you've been a big club, how long you've been successful for. And England only have two at the moment. Now, you pick Man City right now because they're at the peak of their powers at the top. And if Chelsea was still challenging for the title every year, then I think people would pick them irrespective. England have two legacy clubs in Liverpool and Manchester United that have been successful for decades, won Champions Leagues and done these things. And, City are at the top, as I mentioned, so people go to them now. Chelsea are there.
People go to Man City for Pep as well.
Yeah, because he's there. But I think if Chelsea won the league last year and they were going for all these other transitions, they'd have a much better chance of a Delit, a much better chance of getting a Jules Koundé. In 40, 50, 60 years' time, if Chelsea is still right near the top, still doing things, they'll be able to compete easier with these legacy clubs, as an example. And I think that this is they've lost out to Barca and Bayern Munich, but there's no shame in that because of who Barca and Bayern Munich are. They're the pinnacle.
And they were in a good position when the pandemic hit because they were like one of the only teams that had money. And Barcelona, these like the clubs that were in those other leagues, they didn't have the ability to compete. Now that they're kind of replenishing funds and they're out here getting levers and all type of stuff, selling off the club, mortgaging it, whatever they need to do, they can come back and actually compete. And right now, like, I think when you look at it, you're more likely to see a player go from Chelsea to one of these legacy clubs than the other way around. And they're kind of like that in between where it's like, they're good. They're going to be in Champions League. They're going to be fighting for stuff, but players are still going to be looking at the legacy clubs beyond them.
And this is the thing. In recent times, last 20 years, Chelsea have been statistically, trophy-wise, the most successful team of the last 20 years. But it takes a long, long time to build up a legacy. And it's not a dig at Chelsea. Chelsea are building that legacy status, but it takes 40, 50, 60 years to build it. You're up against teams that have been historic, some of them for over a century. And I know a lot of fans sometimes. I know that Ben Jacobs has kind of called out United on a few shows. Like, you can't just rely on that, and there is an element of truth because you can fall from grace. But suddenly, like, if money came back into the game, because one thing with the Italian clubs, they don't quite have the money that the Spanish and the English clubs have. But if more money got pumped into Italy, and AC Milan start winning Serie A's more consistently and start being properly competitive in the Champions League, AC Milan are a legacy club that can fight for any player. And barring Barca, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Man United, I'm talking about Man United at their best. I'm talking here. They're the only teams that they're on that kind of that spectrum. It's interesting. People look at like Ajax are a legacy club. The problem is Ajax can't compete in this day and age because the Eredivisie doesn't have the money. So it's about all these things being in place. And Chelsea have the money. And when Chelsea are competing and they're at their absolute best, yes, they can take players away and stop players going to legacy clubs. But it's the same with City. If Pep Guardiola left City and they went for a period of like not being in the league title races and fell away a bit, they'd find it harder to sign people because they don't have the legacy of the other clubs across Europe. And that's not a dig. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah. And I think Chelsea fans that are, in the comments that are like, I can't believe you guys are saying this. The reality is, like, if Chelsea continue to win, the players that are coming up now, the young players now that are coming up are going to see Chelsea, very successful Chelsea teams, and they will start to be like, okay, that's the club I've always wanted to play for. That's the thing that really scares me about Arsenal, is that I feel like we're going to lose out on that soon. Like, the Henry and Wenger juice is going to run out at some point. It's not going to be there anymore. But look how long it's been since Henry and Wenger have been, Henry hasn't played for Arsenal and who knows how long. Wenger left in 2017 and people are still talking about those days. And Chelsea are definitely building that now, like, where people talk about those eras and say, that's what I want to be a part of. So
but you got to remember, coming. Arsenal were winning major trophies, league titles. I mean, when the FA Cup, when it was massive, for decades before Arsene Wenger arrived. Like, that's not a dig. It's the true reality of the situation. And what Chelsea have done in the last 20 years is phenomenal. But it takes a long time to build a legacy. It's a bit like, over shorter periods of time, you could have, like Drake, right? Drake's had an amazing last 5, 6, 7 years.
Like 10 years.
10 years. Okay. I don't quite know how long. Yeah.
Even longer.
But he doesn't have a Beatles legacy yet.
No, he doesn't.
The only time you know when you've got a Beatles legacy is when you've been around similar to, like, in 60 years time, if clubs are still playing Drake's music, if young kids are growing up excited about Drake, if they're making, Elvis has just had a movie come out about him. Yeah. Elvis has been dead for 40 years. That's a leg. Do you get where I'm coming from? That doesn't mean Drake isn't amazing now. That doesn't mean Drake isn't on point now. But in the footballing context of that, there's this, some football clubs just have a status. They could have 10 years in the doldrums, suddenly get money, suddenly be back, and it's, oh, I want to go there. Because there's a history to it, and being part of that history and the tapestry of that football club to a lot of, and the reason I say this is because I've had the privilege of speaking to footballers, and they speak about these things. Spoke to a number of journalists and well-informed people in the game. And like, why do you think this player is going to choose Real Madrid? Because of the legacy that Real Madrid have got. Yeah. And why is he going to pick? Why is he going to go to this? Some people, though, they do it the other way. Some people, it's like, well, maybe I can create the legacy with PSG and create something that's never been done before. And that's its legacy in itself. But listen, Mbappe still one day is going to go to a legacy club. He's still going to do that at some point in his career. Well, he's been given a weird contract. He's the first footballer in the history of football to become the sporting director at the same time, a part owner at the same time as being a player. But yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting one. I want to say a big thank you, by the way, here to our techers for becoming an official member, an official academy member of the Football Series. Thank you very much indeed. Indeed, a lot of people saying Terry is chatting rubbish. Well, that's just my opinion. So De Jong doesn't see United as a legacy team. So what you're doing here is you're misconstruing what I've said. United have fallen from grace. So the fact that we could still pull him in and that he's still interested, yes, we have to pay him the going rate, but we're still Manchester United. Otherwise, any team that comes sixth could just sign Frenkie de Jong. It doesn't happen. Listen to what Christian Eriksen said. Do you know how? You know, like, there's PR, and then when Eriksen was asked why he picked Man United, he watched him in his interview. You see this childish smirk, like, Man United came in for me. It's true.
They'd be saying whatever in them interviews.
Yeah, but you can tell the difference between United are a big club and I really want to be here, and why did you pick Man United? The head drop, you could see the.
You guys, you hear this?
Just like when Van Persie joined Man United, you could see that I'm at a proper big club now.
That doesn't hurt me.
Oh, that did hurt you guys. That did. That 100%. That 100% hurt.
But so basically, what we're saying is Chelsea are great. Chelsea are Drake, and that's what we've said. If you want to take away Chelsea are Drake, that's it.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting. It's a definite interesting one for us. Great show. Stop it. United still so good. Arsenal best period was the 1930s. I mean, that's fair. I've heard people sometimes try. I remember a debate once where Chelsea fans were saying like you shouldn't really include trophies from that time. Do you know what's crazy about not including your old trophies is the whole point of what your club's trying to do now is build that's like saying in 30, 40 years time, I remember saying to this Chelsea fan, that means you've got to give up these 2 Champions Leagues. You're never going to do that. Like your history is your history and people try and play it down. But what you've got to do is keep adding to it. And with Man United, if Man United were doing what City were doing in the league right now, with the money that's now at stake, do you realize how easy signing people would be for us?
Yeah.
It would be like shooting fish in a barrel. It really, really would.
I think it's just so funny how like I don't feel like Chelsea fans should be triggered right now. What they need to hear is that you guys will eventually get there. But just the fact that like your best defender was offered something from Chelsea and still just like you just won a Champions League, like you guys are doing well, and he's still left to go to Real Madrid because you just don't turn it down. I mean, anytime a player from your club, if you're not a legacy club, is linked to Barcelona or Real Madrid, you should be scared because they're probably going to go.
When Man United were at their best, the only player we ever lost that we didn't want to sell to a club like that was Cristiano Ronaldo. That was the only player that it's ever happened to us with. As far as I can remember, the rest, the club proactively got rid of for one reason or another. We just didn't lose players. You know, when again, and Chelsea, by the way, and City, when you're winning and you're at the top of the table and you're winning things, you'll hold on to these players. That isn't what we're saying. I'm just stating that it's not a dig. I'm actually trying to get you out of a hole here. When you go toe to toe with Bayern Munich for a player, it's so hard, especially if Chelsea are not at the top of the tree right now. Now, if Chelsea were the best team in England and just won the league, I think with the money you could offer him, I think you could take the lid off them. Yeah. But with Chelsea being the third best team in England right now, and maybe 3 or 4 teams in Europe being better, and then Bayern Munich, who are seen as better, come in for him. The legacy they've got, the status they've got, it's hard. That's what it's about, weighing everything up. Comment here says, "Hi Terry, good stream. You've got a beauty next to you again, lucky bastard." I mean, she's the lucky one. Lucky. PR Terry. I don't know what that means. Terry just shows just your new sideburns. I don't really know what that means.
I'm nobody's sideburns. Is that what he just said?
Yeah,
I'm sideburns. I don't know what that means. I don't need to know. I'm not sideburns.
The sideburns are like.
I know what those are.
You know what they are.
Not sideburns.
Have you? You got sideburns? A little bit, guys. That's a little bit hairy on the face. Anyway, I'm sorry. Sorry, apologize. Arsenal is Kanye West. No, I think Arsenal.
I mean, in what context? I need to hear why.
Because you're nutters.
I know. I was like, because he's nuts.
But I don't think Kanye is nuts. No, actually,
no, he's gone.
Nah,
he's gone.
But I like him. There's something about Kanye West. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the red hat thing. I don't know.
He's probably the first artist that I really had to sit there and say, can I separate the artist from the man? Can I do it? You know, because he's questionable. But in what context? I'd like to know, Todd Miller, like, what do you mean? Like, if you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah. More. A super chat here says, as a Milan fan, players want to go to clubs that are ready to win. And if a club has legacy, then it's better. Barca are in a better position to win than Chelsea. Yeah, exactly. It's not if you're a legacy club, you'll sign players in front of teams that are ready to win. But when you've got the combination of two, ready to win, and you're a legacy club, unless you're going up against another legacy club in the same position, you're going to beat everybody else, the players, generally speaking. Generally.
People need to, like, I think people misconstrue, like, Barcelona and Real Madrid were not in the mud for long. They were barely in it. They barely let it touch their toe. Like, this is Real Madrid's team. Nobody thought that they would win anything.
Milli Vanilli,
and they still won the Champions League. So again, like, the pandemic really helped Chelsea in that period where they could really buy and get some of that young talent, like Havertz and like these players ahead of, you know, these legacy clubs. But now that things are equal, you know, it's going to be a little bit tougher.
Yeah, absolutely. This comment here says Raheem Sterling, Koulibaly, Gabriel.
Slowly.
Who's the next name? Oh, Badashila. I mean, it's a lot of names. All linked.
Oh, so these are all the people that you think you're going to get. Oh, I like the last one there, Frenkie de Jong. I mean, if Chelsea came up with some cash. Yo, do you know how great that would be, you guys? Oh, my God. Like, that would be the best thing in this window is to see Chelsea try to get Frenkie de Jong. Everybody wants that, right? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody likes when Arsenal are in a saga because it's funny to watch us lose.
If Chelsea get Frenkie de Jong in front of us, I'm going to cry. I'll be crying live on air. Ed Woodward is the criminal. It's criminal what he's done to Man United. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. And it's going to take time to get over the stuff that he did and the direction the club went in, the problems that we have and everything else. Jesse's head looks bigger. Now, Jesse's actually got a tiny head.
Oh, my head is actually small.
The forehead's massive, but the head's small.
I have a big forehead.
Yeah, it's like her head is small, but like 80% of it is forehead.
You think you're funny, like you're not.
That's true. You can't help it.
Okay, show your forehead.
My forehead's there. That's my forehead.
I would not be.
Yeah, but I'm a man. I've got a bigger head, isn't it?
Yeah, my head's not that big, but hair makes it look bigger. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Just rocking the Rihanna forehead.
She got a big forehead.
Rihanna?
Rihanna. I don't really stare at people. I don't know.
Like you've never seen her before.
No, but I never really looked at Rihanna long enough to go, oh,
Why
big
is
fun.
that? Okay, that's not even a super chat, but you put it up there.
He's a member.
Okay.
Members.
Well, I don't want members thinking like, yeah, I could just say whatever right now and it still get put up on the screen.
Comment here from Todd says Kanye was great when graduation was talked about. How great it was. Then the album. How do you pronounce that?
Yay.
Is that what it was? Yay came out 8th place. Well,
that's a pretty good analogy.
I think it is. Look, all artists. We were actually talking about this earlier on today, weren't we? We were saying how because Beyonce. A lot of people have been. I haven't listened to it, but Beyonce's new album's not as good. And I'm like, whether you're Elvis or the Beatles, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, all of their albums from their peak album got worse on paper. I don't mean they're bad, but they're never as good. Like generally, everyone has their peak album. Yeah. But the legacy is more. Will Kanye West music be played in 30 years' time? If it is, then he's got legacy. But the biggest artists in the world, and there are artists whose music was made 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, and it still gets played in movies. It's still on the radio. It's still used. You watch X Factor and someone will audition and they'll sing Etta James. You know what I mean? Like, how old is that song? That's the legacy I'm talking about. And the point is, when it comes to football clubs, yes, they have to be ready to win right now. And by the way, Barca, they look like they're going to be ready to win straight away. Bayern Munich are always ready to win straight away, or pretty much always ready to win straight away. So when you've got the legacy element, but you're ready to win, you become almost impossible to compete with.
Yeah.
That's all it really is. But yeah, Arsenal being Kanye, I get that. Terry is taking liberties, is what. Not really. It's all fun and games.
Jess Terrace.
She's got big brains. Respect to Jess. Oh, of course. She's a smart lady. Very smart lady.
All right.
Who is shorter, Martinez or Terry? I'm not short, really. I'm not that short. Tottenham is Vanilla Ice. Yeah, I mean, Tottenham. I'd say Tottenham are Peter Andre. Mysterious girl, like no legacy at all. If I was going to pick an artist and say who Chelsea are, I'd say like Justin Bieber or something like modern.
No, it's got to be. I think they're Drake. I think that was the best.
Drake's pretty good. Drake is
good. That's a really good one. I think Tottenham has to be kind of maybe somebody that was good a long time ago. Came out with one pop song when pop songs were popular, but it was like a terrible song.
S Club 7.
It's like something like that. Like, yeah, because
S Club. Yeah, them ones.
Yeah, and it's ain't like no it's
party
good,
like
but you're
an
never
S Club
gonna
party.
listen to it again.
I'm gonna show you. Yeah, that's them. S Club 7 is Tottenham.
Yeah.
Drake is Chelsea. So Chelsea fans are like, oh, Drake, I don't mind what Terry's saying there. Arsenal, I think Kanye West is too young. You've been around longer. You're like, oh, Queen. Didn't quite ever. No. Did the Queen have American success?
Yes.
Yeah, then they can't be Queen then because you've never had any international success. Is what I'm saying.
It has to be.
You got to be Brit. Oh, I know who you are. British success only, but massive in Britain. Robbie Williams.
I have no idea.
You are Robbie Williams. Now you're gonna. You guys are all Spice Girls because they weren't. No, you're big in America. You're big in America.
Spice Girls.
So viewers, if we're gonna give Arsenal one, I'm saying Robbie Williams because Robbie Williams was and still is gargantuan in England, but died in America. That's Arsenal, like died internationally, but big here. Robbie Williams, 110%, 110%. Yeah. Man United can't. No, Eminem is too young to be Man United.
Man United is Eminem,
and it's too young. Man United are either the Beatles, Elvis, or Michael Jackson in top six sense. We're one of the with Liverpool, Man United. Liverpool got to be the Beatles because they're from Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
Man United. I'm just gonna go with Michael Jackson because.
No, I'm gonna go with. No, I can't go with that. I'm gonna let that go.
Okay.
You know what? You know who I'm gonna go with for Arsenal? Actually, you guys probably may not know who this is, but the Isley brothers, very very successful. Never really got up to Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is probably like, but they have some of the same levels, like in terms of that. Had a couple of songs, later on in the career, didn't hit the same. Just kind of fell off. Just shoot as they got older. I'm gonna go with Isley's.
Spurs or Milli Vanilli here. I did have, yeah. I mean, so Man City. Who's like very recent?
Dua Lipa. Whatever her name is.
Yeah, like killing it. Yeah. So who's like? I was thinking Billie Eilish because like she's she's achieving, like winning Grammys and also City.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. But then City do have a bit more legacy.
Adele.
Nah, I'm not putting them next to my Adele from my London. Do you know what I mean? They're not having that. But yeah, like I would call Arsenal. Another good one for Arsenal would be Oasis. Again, because Oasis, again, massive in England.
Yeah.
Didn't do it internationally. I don't think they did. They might have done well in like some countries that you wouldn't expect them to. This guy's tweeted, put a super chat in twice saying, Terry, why don't you cover women's football games?
Terry, why don't you follow women's football games?
I'll tell you why. And it isn't it's bandwidth. I cover the top 6. That takes up all my time. Outside of that, I have very little time. I want to cover UFC. I want to cover other sports. I just don't personally have the time because of the amount of work we do on the top 6. That's all it is.
Hey, you guys, I'm going to work on Terry and see if he'll let me do some of that.
Yeah. Do you know who S Club 7 or Peter Andre are?
I know who S Club 7 is. Peter Andre.
Do you know what? I'm going to have to play you a bit of Mysterious Girl. It's a great tune. And the rap in it is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't redone by Nelly Furtado, was it?
No one would ever remake a Peter Andre
Okay,
song.
Because she had a song called Mysterious Girl, I think.
Yeah, no one would.
Oh, no, it was Promiscuous Girl. Never mind. Stop. Okay, come on, let's keep going.
There we go. Who's the most obscure player with potential that you can name that played for your club? Example for Arsenal, remembering I know that player. How do you pronounce his name?
Zalalem.
No, the other guy before it.
Rio Miyachi.
Miyachi, yeah. Dong Fun Shui. When we signed Dong Fun Shui, like we all thought, oh, this guy could be good. And I see him in a few like reserve games. He was good. I tell you who was a player that who did all right when he first left Man United. And I was so gutted never really got a chance at Man United was Giuseppe Rossi. I love that guy. I thought he was going to be an absolute baller. It didn't quite work out. But there we go.
Yeah, we've had some obscure ones.
Cliff Richard is a very Arsenal being Cliff Richard.
Who is Cliff Richard?
So Cliff Richard was like Britain's version of Elvis.
Okay.
And he was massive here, and he still is massive here. Like
Okay.
you must have heard some of his songs, like "Congratulations." I don't know the rest of the words. He also have you heard? Yeah, I mean, he's some Christmas songs as well. I don't know if they play it in America. Christmas time, mistletoe and wine.
So he has some Christmas hits.
Yeah, huge Christmas songs.
So that's the FA Cup.
yeah. So yeah, Cliff Richard, that is the best one of the night.
Let's do it.
Cliff Richard for Arsenal. We're changing it from Robbie Williams and we'll go Cliff Richard. I like that. I do like that. So no Community Shield game reviews. Yeah, we were at the Football Terrace party last night, my friend. Great night, by the way. Of course, Jess was there. KJ and his lovely lady was there. Kai, I remembered now. Terrible remembering names. Who else was there last night? We had Patrick, Colleen. Adam Charles. Adam Charles is back. He was there. Of course, Anita was there. Daniel was there. Alex, let me finish. Came to the event.
Wright.
Henry Wright, the Spurs fan. Carefree Lewis came along. We had Dan Lawless. Who else? I'm going to forget people. Neeks, Egal, Gunnar King, Young Samuel.
Yes,
Young Samuel turned up with his little beard. Thing.
The first day I was like, how old are you?
Lincoln was there. I'm going to expose you now, though, for something last night.
No.
Jess thought Lincoln was Daniel.
This is why you can't tell Terry anything.
She come up to me. I was talking to.
I told you that like
Wax,
5 times.
Wax was there. Wax Online was there.
Wax
me and
was
Wax
there,
were talking, and Jess walks over and goes, "Terry, is that Daniel over there?" And it was Lincoln.
Because somebody had to not look like what they look like on the streams, and I was like, "This is the one, I think."
Yeah, it's yeah, honestly, I couldn't believe it. And I know someone that's in the group chat's watching at this point. Clip that up. Obviously, Rack was there yesterday. Yeah. There was others there. There was a guy, and I'm gonna forget his name, from Saint. A Liverpool fan. I'm really sorry for forgetting the name. First time I met him. Yeah, lots of. I'm probably forgetting. No, he might have been Rom that came. It might be his name. Obviously, my boys came, man, like Phil, Big D came along, Big Dwayne, Tony. And I think that was it. It was good. It was a really good night. It was a nice group, a good night. Too many drinks. Went to the casino, kind of. That's a story for another day. Terry, do you know the band Westlife?
Mm-mm.
Wow, they're a big Irish band. They're Irish, but we adopted them as well over here. Big band, like ballads and stuff. I think they've had the most number ones in England of any band ever. in England. But
Yes.
again, but Westlife just not old enough. Sir Cliff Richard. Yeah, sorry, Sir Cliff Richard to you is Sir Cliff Richard.
Okay, sir.
I can't tell that story because that will get me in trouble.
Yeah.
Ramel. There we go. But yeah, man like Rack was there last night. It was good to meet him. Again, we've met a few times before. It was, yeah, Daniel's been out catfishing. Daniel.
I really was like, wait.
Yeah, it made me laugh. And he'd only had like one wine at that point. But there we go. Westlife, I think Westlife are pretty big worldwide. I think they also had some hits. I think they had a few hits in America, but it depends if you're into that kind of music. Wax Online is a straight waffler asking him. Listen, he's not a waffler. He's a good guy, man. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Listen, my people, I appreciate you all tuning in. Super chatters, I appreciate it loads. I want to make sure I haven't missed anybody's super chats here. I don't think I have. Jess got that Sade forehead. Sade. Is that maybe Sade? I don't know who Sade is. I don't, maybe. I'm just terrible with stuff like that. I forget things. I do forget things. But there we go. Devil's advocate. If the quality isn't as good as men's football, why would they watch them? Like there's a reason the Premier League is the most watched. But listen, I think again, not to go back over the stuff with the women's football, like it doesn't mean that it can't become a bigger sport just because some people don't perceive it as good, and that's kind of normal and natural. But it's good enough that, like, I've been thoroughly entertained through this tournament. I'm thoroughly entertained watching it. So
if you watch it for what it is and you don't constantly look at it and say, well, they're not as fast as the men, they're not as technical as the men, you know, if you don't do that, you can look at it for what it is, and it's very entertaining. The girls are very good, you know, and I think that's the point of all of this kind of, is like you kind of have to separate the two.
yeah,
And on both sides, you don't want people we don't need to put them on the same par and compare them constantly. They're basically like two different sports, you know, in terms of like how they need to be separated. Women's football is completely different in terms of the speed and stuff like that, but it's still just as entertaining, you know.
110%. And it's, you know, everyone likes different things, you know. I there's some leagues I don't enjoy watching because I don't find them entertaining. But I think what needs to stop, though, is something I'm not doing, is using the women winning tonight. If you start using it as a stick to beat the men over the head with, people take exception to that and go, well, I ain't watching the women's football then if you're going to have a go at the men. It stop playing them off against each other and just enjoy the football. And I think that's the problem for me. So I saw a lot of people doing that tonight. Some have done it as a joke, but yeah, I just don't participate in that. It's just like, well done, England. Congratulations. You don't need to use them as a stick, though, to beat the men's team over the head with, because you're not going to create togetherness that way. That's just, again, more, you know, building a bigger bridge between everybody. Comment here says, as much as Fofana is a panic buy, I'm taking him for both his current and future quality. Yeah, listen. I don't think. It depends if it's a panic buy or not. It could be, but it could be a good panic buy. We will see. Listen, everyone that has tuned in tonight, a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Back tomorrow with the Done Deal show. The Top 6 show is back as well. Jess, a pleasure for the first time ever to do a stream, sort of face to face in the same room. I appreciate that a lot. I do. Before you leave, smash the like and those share buttons. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very